Soid Hashem Lirav, Hashem knows all secrets, so whoever is the sponsor. In addition, should be a refuah shlema for Yasmin Sarah Bat Shahim Rivka Becky Bat Dvara, Jacqueline or Jacqueline?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. Chaya Sarah Bat Ezat. Kadosh Baruch Hu Yitain Lahem refuah shlema. Chol HaNefesh refuah shlema b'shamayim. And it should be an Aliyas Neshama for Yosef Elimelech ben Ruvain. All right. Continuing with the storyline here. We're picking up at 135, chapter 27.
In the English book.
In the English
Chumash.
the Art Scroll Stone edition.
135.
Okay, so we're continuing with the storyline. We're not going to make it through the story tonight. We're not going to read the whole thing. There's way too much in the incident that we're about to go through. This is one of the pivotal moments in the storyline of the Torah. This is when Isaac is going to give the blessing to the next generation. We've seen the story of Abraham, and we spoke about the life of Abraham, and then the baton was handed off to Isaac. And we said that there was not a lot written about the life of Isaac, and we're about to see the baton handed off from Isaac to Jacob, and how that transpires is quite a complicated story in the Torah, and hopefully we'll be able to give some insight into it. So we are picking up at chapter 27. And it came to pass, when Isaac had become old and his eyes dimmed from seeing, that he summoned Esav, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he said to him, "Here I am." And he said, "See, now I have aged, I know not the day of my death. Now sharpen, if you please, your gear, your sword and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. Then make me delicacies such as I love, and bring it to me, and I will eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to Esav his son, and Esav went to the field to hunt game to bring. But Rebekah had said to Jacob her son, saying, "Behold, I heard your father speaking to your brother Esav, saying, 'Bring me some game, and make me delicacies to eat, and I will bless you in the presence of Hashem before my death.' So now, my son, heed my voice to that which I command you. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from there 2 choice young kids of the goats, and I will make of them delicacies for your father as he loves. Then bring it to your father, and he shall eat, so that he may bless you before his death." And that's as far as we're probably going to get tonight, so we'll stop there. Isaac has 2 children, Jacob and Esav. And we saw previously, when we read the birth of those 2, we saw that they were very, very different. We saw that Esav was someone who was drawn to the physical desires of the world, and Jacob was someone that was drawn to the spiritual endeavors of the world. And we saw that for some reason, we didn't go too much into detail, but we did gloss over it. We saw that Isaac had favored Esav, and Rebekah, she had favored Jacob. And we spoke about, and we're going to speak more tonight about it, we spoke about what was it that Isaac favored Esav, and why did Rebekah favor Jacob? And we said that they were both looking at who was going to be the better one to take the mantle of leadership of the Jewish people. Who was going to be the better one to take that baton? And Isaac was looking at it from a position of leadership and power, whereas Rebekah was looking at it from an ability to pass on the mission of the Jewish people. to build relationships. And Esav is someone that we saw that was not worthy of that leadership. We saw that when Abraham had died, all Esav could think about was, give me that food, I'm famished. Who cares that my grandfather died? Who cares about this birthright? This birthright is meaningless. I'm going to die. What do I care about the birthright? What do I care about what the Jewish people are going to be doing in generations? I'll be dead. Yeah.
Did Yaakov ever tell his dad or mom that he got the birthright?
I know. It is clear that he did not. We're going to speak about that. That's going to come up at the end of this story. But it is clear from the context of the story, as we'll read further, that Jacob did not share that incident with his parents. The incident of buying the birthright from Esau. So it says that when Isaac became old and his eyes were dimmed. What does that mean, that his eyes were dimmed? So we're going to try and understand two things tonight. We're going to try and understand what really was Isaac thinking about Esau. We're going to try and understand what was it that Isaac was trying to do by giving the blessing to Esau. Because you have to ask an immediate question when you read this story. Isaac says, I'm going to get old. I am old. My eyesight is dimming. I'm clearly going to die imminently. And I don't know when that's going to be. But when I die, someone has to take that mantle of leadership and continue the mission of the Jewish people. And in order to do that, there's a spiritual reality to it. It's not just, an inheritance that I die and you're automatically the leader. There is some clearly spiritual reality that has to be transferred over. We saw that with Abraham giving Isaac the blessing that God gave to Abraham. So it is clear that Isaac feels the need to give that blessing to the next generation. It's not an automatic transferal. We see that clearly. But then you have to ask the next question. If Isaac is saying to his son, I'm going to die any day now, and I don't know when that day is, and I want you to be the mantle of leadership, and I want to give you the blessing, so then what should Isaac do right then and there? Give him the blessing. Not ask for it, give it to him. Hey, Esau, I'm going to die. I want you to have the blessing. So guess what? Here's the blessing. What's with this whole thing? Listen, I'm going to die. I don't know when it is. I want to give you the blessing. So do me a favor. Go hunt. Go hunt. Get some good food. Cook it up nice. Bring it to me. Let me have a good steak. Then I'll give you a blessing. What for? Just give him the blessing. You see, this is where I say that Isaac understood who Esau was. Isaac understood that Esau was a man entrenched in the physical world. Isaac understood that Esau was a man of the field, a hunter, a person who wanted to conquest the world. And that's why it says he came out red and hairy. He came out a very physical entity. And Isaac understood that. Isaac wasn't blind to that. But Isaac was blind to something else. When Isaac says to Esau, go hunt. Why? Why does he insist that Esau has to go hunt before he gives him the blessing? Not because Isaac wants to have a good steak before he gives the blessing. He wants to feel, oh, all right, good, now let's talk business. No. It's that Isaac understands that Esau is the physical power of the world. And that physical power is dangerous. That physical power, if it's not channeled correctly, is dangerous. And Isaac fully believed that Esau had the ability to channel that power. That's what we spoke about last time. That Esau was supposed to be the king. Esau was supposed to be the power of the Jewish people. And Jacob was supposed to be the spiritual director. It was supposed to be a balance of powers. It wasn't that it was supposed to be one or the other. It was supposed to be together, united, they would build this Jewish people. And Isaac understood that in order for Isaac to do that, he's going to have to control his nature. Like someone asked earlier about your character. You're born a certain way. Does that mean that that's who you are? And the answer is yes. That is who you are. The question is, what do you do with it, though? I mentioned to you that there was another individual who was red and hairy. And who was it? It was King David. That when Shmuel went to anoint King David, Shmuel was taken aback. He was a little scared because he saw this is a hairy red hair. This is a red person. It's a gingy, they call him in Israel. You got a gingy here. This kid's full of feist and anger, and he was a little scared. And Hashem said to him, "No, don't worry. He's conquered that. He didn't subdue it. You see, you don't subdue your personality. You learn how to channel. You learn how to direct. You learn how to understand the power that you have within you and use it in the right ways." And that is why Isaac said to Esau, "I want you to go hunt." Why? Because up until now, you know why you've been hunting? You've been hunting for your own glory. You've been hunting for your own conquest. Now I want you to channel that because I'm telling you to do it. I want you to channel it into the mitzvah of honoring your father. I want you to take that power that you have and I want you to utilize it for the mission of the Jewish people. And then I'll be able to give you a blessing. Yeah.
But in a way, isn't that the same thing? Because he's hunting to get the blessing for himself.
It's fine because Isaac told him to do it, though. He's not just doing it because he does. Isaac said, "I want you to do this because I want it." So therefore, it's not doing it for you. I want you to do it because I'm commanding you as your father, and you've got a mitzvah to honor your father. So go do it. Go and use your force for good, which will create a receptacle to then receive the blessing. You know what a blessing is in Hebrew? Bracha. It's the same word as brecha. What's a brecha? Pool of water. How do you have a pool of water? You don't have a pool of water unless you have, water has no shape. That's a rule of physics. Liquid has no shape. Solid has a shape. Liquid has no shape. Shape of liquid is only when it is retained in a physical dimension that gives it shape. A pool of water means, by definition, it's been collected. You can only have a pool of water if you have a receptacle that is able to hold that pool of water. That's what a bracha is. A bracha is, then you have a receptacle that is able to receive that spiritual energy. And that's what Isaac was saying. Esau, go do a mitzvah with all the power that you have. And that will create a receptacle that I can then give you the blessing. But Isaac was blind. Because Isaac was blind to seeing that Esau didn't have that ability. Esau could only do what you said. Esau could only do it because, manipulation. I'll make my father happy. Not because I'm doing a mitzvah, but now I can manipulate. I can let my father think that I'm a righteous person when I'm far from that. And that's what it means that his eyes were dimmed. He didn't see. He missed this point. And we're going to see Isaac makes a tremendous mistake here. One of the great things about the Torah, one of the great things about Judaism, is that we do not put our leaders on a pedestal of infallibility. You know, that's a concept in Christianity. The Roman Church, the Pope is infallible. The Pope can't make mistakes. If the Pope says it, therefore it can't be wrong. It's absurd. He's a human. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they make mistakes. And the Torah lays them out. Isaac is he's about to make an unbelievably tragic error here by wanting to give the blessing to Esau. But Rebecca sees this. And what does Rebecca say? Rebecca says, Isaac is going to give your brother the blessing. And Rebecca sees that this is a fatal, tragic error. So what does she say? She says, listen, your brother's out hunting. That's going to take some time. So we will circumvent that. Just go to the flock. Just go grab 2 kids from the flock and shech them, cut them up. I'll cook them, and you'll go in and get the blessing. So Jacob replies to Rebekah, his mother, and he says the obvious retort, but my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall be as a mocker in his eyes. I will thus bring upon myself a curse rather than a blessing. You want me to go in? Jacob is confused. You want me to go in and steal the blessing? How can I do that? I won't get away with it. My father will touch me. He will know right away I'm not Esau. And instead of giving me a blessing, he will give me a curse. And look, wait till you see what his mother says. But his mother said to him, your curse be on me, my son. Only heed my voice and go fetch them for me. Rebecca says something to Jacob that is, in my opinion, mind-boggling. She says, if you get a curse, it's on me. She's not saying, don't worry, you won't be harmed. She's not saying he's not going to curse you. No. She's saying, you're right. He might actually curse you. You're right. He might realize what you're doing, and he will be furious, and he will curse you. But you still need to do it. You still need to do it. It's unbelievable. We see this time and time again throughout Jewish literature, where a person has a choice they have to make, and this is often a choice that we have to make in our lives. Hopefully we don't have to make these choices that often. But sometimes in life a person has to make a choice to do something because it's the right thing to do. Even though the consequences of doing that right thing are grave. Even though doing that choice might very well cost me everything. I might lose everything I cherish, but I still have to do it. Abraham goes, just to give you examples, Abraham goes to save Lot. And when Abraham goes to save Lot, Abraham is assuming he's going to die. Abraham stood at the pit. Remember all these stories when he stood at the pit of fire and Nimrod said to him, bow down to the fire god or I'm throwing you in the pit of fire. And Abraham said, I can't do it. I can't bow down. What is Abraham thinking at that moment? I'm going to have to die. One of the most important things that you have to answer for yourself, and if you haven't answered this question, then I'm going to say what my rabbi said to me, you're playing Monopoly life. If you don't know what you're willing to die for, then you haven't begun living. If you don't know what's worth giving everything up for, then you don't know what's giving it all for.
Your rabbi was Rav Noach Feinberg?
Yeah. Yeah, only you could say that. Rebecca understands right here that this is not just about my son Esau and my son Jacob. This is about the destiny of humanity. This is about the course of the Jewish people. And I love my son Esau dearly. But he can't take the mantle of leadership for the Jewish people. That would be disastrous for the world. Jacob, you have to go in. But what if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, then okay, but we got to try. Well, why can't we just go talk to him? He won't see it. He's blind. He won't hear it. He's stuck in his ways. What, you don't think I've tried to tell him? You don't think that Rebecca's tried to tell him time and time? They're a married couple, trust me. Married couples know who their kids are. One time I had a student of mine. He took one of his kids to a park. And there was another kid there who was acting like a brat. He was acting like a brat. He was bullying. And so he took his kid away and he came and he asked me, he says, do you think I should say something to the father? And I said, do you think the father doesn't know that's who his kid is? Do you really think the father has no idea? Of course the father knows. He knows. He'll grow out of it. Yeah, that's what boys do. He knows. He just comes up with all kinds of reasons why it's not disastrous. Rebecca understands who Esav is. And she's saying, I love him, but this is disastrous. You got to go in. You got to steal this blessing. And Jacob is petrified. And Rebecca says, if you're cursed, which is as real as the blessing, it's on me. I'm willing to take that because to me, that's worth dying for. Yeah.
Wouldn't it just fall back on Isaac?
Why would it fall back on Isaac?
Because if Isaac puts a curse
on his wife, so his wife's cursed. He's not cursed.
No, but if the wife takes it, then what's she going to give it to?
Why would she give it to anyone?
He's just going to throw his mother under the bus after.
He's not doing it. He doesn't know. Isaac doesn't know that if I curse Jacob, that it's going to go on his mother. Let's play this scenario out, okay? According to this. This is not what's going to happen. He's going to fool him. Let's play this scenario out because you're asking a question. So Jacob goes in to steal the blessing. And Isaac finds out. How dare you try and... What are you trying to trick me? What, you going to steal the blessing? How disrespectful can you possibly be to try and steal from your father? By the way, these are all questions we're going to have to answer. We're going to have to answer all these questions. How disrespectful can you be? You're trying to steal the blessing from your father? I wanted to give you a blessing. I was going to give Esav a blessing. I was going to give you a blessing. I can't give you a blessing now. I'm going to have to give you a curse to try and teach you a lesson. Now, what is Isaac thinking? Isaac's thinking that I have to give you a curse because that's what a father has to do in order to teach his son. We saw this by Noah. We spoke about it back then. For those of you who were here, Noah cursed his son. And we spoke about it. How can you curse your son? And he understood. We spoke about it then. That he understood that that was the only way. Noah understood that that was the only way to help his son become the person he could be. Was to curse him. So Isaac would be saying the same thing. If I have a son that would be so audacious to come in here and try and steal a blessing from me, there's only one hope for him. I'm going to give him a curse. Okay? Now what's Isaac thinking at that point? That it's going to go on his mother? Why would he think that? He doesn't think that. He thinks it's going on Jacob. It's just that Rebecca was saying, no, I'm putting a force field around you. I'm putting a protective force field around you that the curse is on me. Because I'm the one sending you to do it. You follow? But look at what he said though. He said, my son is hairy. And I'm smooth-skinned. You know, dad's blind. So, what's going to happen is, he's going to want to reach out and touch me. And as soon as he touches me, well, it didn't work with you. As soon as he touches me, it's not smooth, it's hairy, like Esav. So, he's going to reach out and touch me. He's going to be like, hey, this is smooth. This isn't Esav. And I'm going to be found out right away. So look at what Rebecca says. So he went, fetched and brought to his mother, and his mother made delicacies as his father loved. Rebekah then took her older son Esau's clean garments, which were with her in the house, and clothed Jacob, her young son. With the skins of the he-goats, she covered his arms and his smooth-skinned neck. She placed the delicacies and the bread which she had made into the hand of her son Jacob. Rebekah says the following: this is what you're going to do, Jacob. You're going to go in and steal this blessing. You're going to go in and you are going to imitate Esau. Here are special clothes to put on. Now you notice it's very weird. It says, and she put on Esau's clothes that were with her. Why would she have her son's clothing? He's a grown man. He's got his own tent. What are his clothes doing in his mother's tent? This isn't a mama's boy here.
She stole it.
Huh? No. The rabbis tell us that he had special clothes designated to wear whenever he would go in to see his father. And he had them kept in his mother's tent, so this way he would know that they would be kept special. Because that was the one thing that he did to the nth degree, was showed honor to his father. But it was all a manipulation. And so he had these special clothes so that when he would go out and hunt, he wouldn't ruin these special clothes. And so what was he going to do? Esau's out hunting. He's going to come back with this delicacy barbecue that he just fixed up. He plans to go into his mother's tent and put on the clothes. Instead, Jacob's got those clothes now. And then she takes the skin from the animals and she drapes it around his arms and around his neck.
He was that hairy?
Huh?
He was that hairy?
Esau was hairy, yeah. Some people. And thank you. I couldn't say it. I don't know. I mean, if you think I'm white, you should look at this camera and see how white I look. I mean, there's no way I could get away with saying that. But yeah, look at some of your brethren. Alright, I'm holding back, refraining from.
Why? We can edit it.
You can edit. The Gemara says that Persians are compared to a bear.
Yeah, you definitely want to edit that one. You're gonna get those
Two aspects. In two aspects, they're hairy like a bear, and they can't sit still. Like they have no rest like a bear. You know, you ever watch a bear? Bear just kind of, you go to these back and forth. It's pacing back and forth. That's a Persian. They can't sit still. They gotta constantly be doing something.
What about hibernation?
Huh? Except for the winter, because it's too cold. They can't handle that. They can't handle the extreme.
Makes sense.
My favorite was hibernation.
You're gonna.
Huh?
My favorite was on hibernation.
That's it. What? Your what?
My favorite
Hibernation.
was on hibernation.
Your favorite part? Okay. All right.
You're gonna get those hate mails that you wanted.
Yeah, now I'm going to get the hate mails. And he came to his father, and he says, now let's watch this. This is amazing. So he came to his father, and he said, Father. Now this is Jacob, okay? Picture the story. You got to, remember I've told you this numerous times. You got to make it real. You got to really picture this story now. Jacob, who is clearly the spiritual person of the family. Jacob is the person that just sat and studied all day. He is petrified that his father's going to curse him, and he's been asked to go and steal from his own father. Okay? So he walks in and he says, Father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you? My son? And Jacob said to his father, It is I, Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Rise up, please. Sit and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. Now look at these words very carefully. Jacob said to his father, It is I, Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now, you could read that and you could say that Jacob just walked in and lied through his teeth. However, you can read it another way as well. And here's where we're going to speak a little bit. Jacob walks in and he says to his father, Father. And his father says, who are you? Something's not right here. I know, I recognize that voice. Who are you? And he says, it's I, comma. Esau's your firstborn. It is I. Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Jacob could either be lying through his teeth, or Jacob is so bothered by this story. He is so bothered by this event that his mother is forcing him to do, that he at least, at the very minimum, tries to do it in a way where he can say to himself and look at himself in the mirror and say, I didn't lie.
As you didn't tell anything though. That you told
Wrong.
Me.
My whole life I've done exactly as you've asked me. My whole life I've done what you told
But
me.
this is the context of...
In the context of this story, yes.
Yeah. Put out of context.
And here's where you have to understand something. Jacob walks in, and Jacob says, it is I. You asked, who are you? And I'm telling you, it's me. Esau, your firstborn. And right then and there, he makes a distinction. It is I. I am the same person whether I'm in front of you, whether I'm not in front of you. I am the same person consistently. I am Jacob. I am not one way when I'm with you. I am not another way when I'm with other people. Esau, your firstborn. That's a whole different story. Esau, your firstborn. Esau, the only time that he is who he should be is when he's in front of you, acting like your firstborn. I have done exactly what you've told me. I don't try and manipulate the system. I don't try and sway you. Even though right now, I am doing exactly that. And this is where you have to understand something incredible. We are told that each of our forefathers represents a different attribute. Does anyone know what the attribute of Jacob is? Emet. Truth. Jacob is the one who represents truth. And yet Jacob is the one in the story that is lying and playing a trick on his father. How can you have the person that represents truth representing in this way? So there's two things you have to understand here. The first one is, why was Jacob the man of truth? Jacob is the man of truth because the rabbis actually say, Titain emet liYaakov. The prophet says that Jacob was given truth. He's the man of truth because that's an attribute that he was given. He was given the ability to live with truth and to recognize truth. Why was Jacob needed to be given that? So let's think about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Who's Abraham? Abraham is the father of the Jewish people. Abraham is the father of monotheism. Abraham is the one who starts the whole mission of the Jewish people to teach the world about meaning and morality. And how did Abraham come up with this? Abraham came up with this on his own. He wasn't taught this by anyone. On the contrary, he grew up in a home where it was the antithesis of that. And that's how he was able to come up with it. Abraham was able to come up with this concept because he grew up with the exact opposite. He grew up in a house that was entrenched with idolatry. And therefore he saw the absurdity of it. He saw the absurdity of that life. And therefore he was able to see that one God is meaningful. Isaac. Who does Isaac grow up with? Isaac grows up in the house of Abraham. And he has a brother Ishmael. And what does Abraham do? Abraham sees there's Isaac and there's Ishmael. Ishmael is clearly not on board. He's got to go. Isaac, you're on board. Here's the baton. So Isaac has two images that he's able to look at. He's able to see his father, and he's able to see his brother, and he's able to see the distinction between the two. And he's able to see that his father, who is this righteous, holy man, understands that Ishmael is not the right way. So Isaac has the ability to discern and see what's true. And along comes Jacob. And Jacob grows up in the house of Isaac. A man who is righteous, a man who is holy, a man who lives a means of existence that is beyond our comprehension in terms of greatness. And he has a twin brother who is the exact opposite of that. And who does his father choose? His father chooses Esau. Talk about an existential crisis. My father, who I adore, my father who I revere, chooses that. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm wrong. If that's who my father is picking to be the leader, maybe I'm wrong. And that's why he had to be given the ability to understand truth. He had to be given the ability to see truth clearly and to see that his father is making a mistake. He had the ability to see that his father was wrong. As great as his father was wrong. And yet it did not diminish the reverence he had for his father one iota. We are so brazen, we are so arrogant. The moment we see someone make a mistake, we dismiss them entirely. Instead of thinking, oh, they made a mistake. When we're children, the moment we're old enough to realize that our parents were not perfect, that our parents actually are fallible, is the moment we dismiss them and begin to resent them and begin to wish they would have been somewhat different. Just because someone makes a mistake does not diminish their greatness and the deserving of reverence. And Jacob was able to see that because Jacob understood truth. And it is only because Jacob understands truth that we have this story. Because if you want to learn what truth is, the best way to learn how someone appreciates truth is not to show us someone that never lies a single moment in their life. No. That's great. That is immense. I don't know any of us. I don't know. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm going to make an assumption here. My assumption is that no one in this room can say they've never lied. And if anyone says differently, speak to me afterwards.
They're
like
lying.
Huh?
Then they're lying.
Then they're lying, probably. Show me someone who's never lied, I will say, wow. But that's not going to teach me the reverence we should have for the truth. Show me someone who's put in a situation where they have no choice but to lie. They have no choice. They have to lie. And yet look how far they go out of their way to say the truth. That's only because they have a reverence for truth. Give me an example. I see I've lost some people with this concept. I said some people, I didn't say everyone. God forbid you have to break Shabbos. God forbid you have to break Shabbos. You need to get someone to the hospital. What do? You get in your car and you drive to the hospital. Do you turn on the radio to find out the score of the game? While you're driving? Well, you're driving anyway. You're breaking Shabbos anyway. You get in the car, the radio's on. Can you switch the station? Why not? You're driving anyway.
You're driving for good cause.
Yeah. Just because you're driving and you're breaking Shabbos doesn't mean it's not Shabbos anymore. You follow? Just because, Jacob, you're put in a situation where you have no choice. Your mother has told you this is life or death. Those are the words she's used. If you are cursed, it's on me. Do you imagine the magnitude of that statement to Jacob? The magnitude of hearing his mother say, if he curses you, it is on me. At that moment, Jacob realizes this is life or death. I have no choice. I have to break Shabbos. Meaning, I have to lie. This is life or death. I have to lie. I've got to go in there and act like I'm Esav. Okay, now how do I do it? Do I walk in and say, hey, I'm here, it's Esav? No, I can't live with myself if I do that. So instead, what does he do? He walks in and with the reverence for truth, he says a statement that on its own is truthful. In the context of the story, it's a lie, but that's only because he has no choice. Now do you see the power of Jacob being a man of truth? The rest of us, I don't know if we would have done what Jacob did. I'm willing to think we would have walked in and said whatever we needed to say to convince him that we're Esav. Especially when we just heard from our mother that this is life or death. Oh, life or death, do whatever you got to do. Not Jacob. Not a man who has reverence for truth. Does that make sense? All right, we'll finish off with one more line. So he says, I've done as you told me. Rise up, please sit. Eat of my game that your soul may bless me. Now here's another question. I guess maybe we won't go too much further. I explained why Esav needed to go hunt in order to get the blessing. Now we're talking about Jacob though. Now Isaac doesn't know that it's Jacob. Isaac thinks it's Esav. But as far as Jacob's concerned, why is Jacob saying to Esau, to Isaac, eat and then bless me? Why doesn't he just say, here, I brought you your game, give me my blessing? Why doesn't he just say, give me my blessing? I went, I hunted, I did as you told me, here's the game, can I have my blessing?
So Isaac blesses him by himself without him having to tell him?
Okay. Same thing. I'm here. No, he even says, give me the blessing. He still says, give me the blessing. He says, sit up, eat my game, so your soul may bless me. Why doesn't he just say, it's I, Esav your firstborn, I've done as you told me, rise up and bless me.
Did Jacob actually hunt?
No, so you missed that. So his mother went to their flock and just took the animals that they owned and cooked them up. So why doesn't he just walk in and say, give me the blessing? And here, gentlemen, this is something that I think is so crucial to living a life of joy. Isaac could easily give the blessing right now. For Esav had to go hunt. Esav had to create himself a receptacle worthy of getting that blessing. Not Jacob. Jacob doesn't have to do that. Jacob is a vessel worthy of giving the blessing. Now it's the opposite. Jacob now wants to make sure that the blessing is coming from Isaac in the most elevated of state. And do you know when we are in the most elevated of state? When we feel good about ourselves. When we feel good. When we feel good, we are filled with joy. And when we are filled with joy, we want to give to others. It is inevitable. Think back in your own time. Just think in the last week. My assumption is that many of us, including myself, I have children, so it happens to be maybe more frequently than you, but many of us have probably barked at somebody or spoken a little harshly at somebody in the last week. And you could easily say, and I do not doubt it, that the person that you spoke harshly to, or growled at, or barked at, or grunted at, or gave a dirty look to, probably deserved it. Are probably the type of person that should get a growl every now and then. But that's not why you growled. The reason you growled is just because you were not in a good mood. The reason you growled is because you just didn't feel good about yourself at that moment. You were having a bad day. You were feeling down. And therefore, it was given off to others. Jacob wants Isaac to give him a blessing. And you know what he wants? He wants Isaac to feel good, to be filled with joy. And he knows that if he eats this food, he's going to be filled with joy. He's going to feel good. And the blessing will be that much even loftier and filled with love that much more. When we are filled with joy, when we feel good, then we just want to shine on others. And when we don't, we are pretty miserable to be around. That's why Jacob says, eat first, then give me the blessing. All right, I wanted to get one more line.
Let's do it.
All right.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
It says, rise up, please sit. What does that mean?
We're going to skip that for now.
Get up, so sit down?
No, yeah, he's not telling him get up, sit down. He's the one's telling him to lift yourself up, elevate yourself, and sit and eat. You're supposed to sit and eat. You're supposed to be settled. There's two different aspects. Okay? All right. So Isaac says, okay, something's funny here. How is it that you were so quick to find? I just sent you not but 25 minutes ago to go hunt. It takes a while to hunt, and then you got to cook. You seem to have done this in only the amount of time it takes to cook. Something's going on here. And he said, because Hashem, your God, arranged it for me. And Isaac said to Jacob, come close, if you please, so I can feel you, my son. Are you indeed my son Esav or not? Why is Isaac all of a sudden unsure of who's in front of him? Who caught it?
Because it's spiritual.
Huh?
Spiritual.
What do you mean?
He's doubting God.
No, he said because God.
Ah.
And when does this stuff?
All that Isaac says is, whoa, what's happened here? How did you get the food so fast? He doesn't say, are you Esav? He's saying, what happened here? Did you have a good, did you just go out and there was a deer right in front of you and you managed to kill it right away? This is not the normal speed that it takes for you to go hunt and cook. What's going on here? Does he doubt that it's Esav yet? No. But Jacob says back, oh, Hashem was with me. Whoa.
Isaac doesn't talk like that.
Esav never talks like that. If I were to ask Esav, hey, how did you hunt so fast? Well, you know, Dad.
I'm not doing it.
Come on. We're talking about me. I knew you wanted it, so I was extra good today. I was on my game.
But he also lied to his dad.
It says Hashem was with me. Hashem arranged it for me. That's exactly what happened. Jacob's not lying here. Hashem arranged this for me. Hashem arranged this. Huh?
Why didn't Isaac catch him?
Oh, so then he says, come close so I can feel you. Are you my son? Are you Esav? What you're saying right now is not Esav. So Jacob draws close to Isaac, his father, who felt him and said an amazing line. Listen to this line. And this is where we're going to stop. The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are Esav's hands. Hakol kol Yaakov, v'hayadayim yedei Esav. But he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, like the hands of Esav his brother. So he blessed him. And he said, you are indeed my son Esav. And he said, I am. He said, serve me, and let me eat of my son's game, that my soul may bless you. So he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And next week we'll see the blessing But what's that line? The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And right then and there, Isaac is saying something that is a lesson for every single one of us. And that is, Isaac is saying, there appears to be a contradiction here. I am listening to you speak. And listening to you speak, this is not the way Esau speaks. This is the way Jacob speaks. But yet when I touch you, that feels like Esau. So there's a contradiction. But that line is a contradiction that we have to understand that permeates existence and spreads far beyond this story itself. That line of the voice is one thing, but the hands are something else. In other words, what Jacob was saying earlier to his father will come full circle now. What Jacob was saying earlier to his father, it's me. It's me. I am consistent, Dad. I don't change who I am. I don't act one way here and act a different way there. I am consistent. Esau, your firstborn, he is not. He acts one way when he's in front of you. He acts another way when he's not in front of you. He is a contradiction. And the Torah is saying a contradiction is not something you should live with. Don't go through life the voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau. Don't go through life saying that you're one thing and trying to present yourself in one way, but yet your hands, i.e., your actions, are something entirely different. You don't present yourself a fraud. You don't present yourself as if you're one way, but yet your actions demonstrate an entirely different person. Be consistent. Walk the walk, as they say. Don't just talk the talk. At least I hope you know that phrase. Right? Weren't you guys were the ones that didn't know the nose and the face? And by the way, I tested it on another class, and 2/3 of the class also had no idea what the heck I was talking about. People bite, you bite your nose off to spite your own face. Don't be a person that does not walk the walk. You say one thing, you live that way. You say one thing, you act that way. And therefore, you get rid of contradictions in your life. And that's what Isaac was telling us right then and there. Next week, we'll see the blessing that Isaac gives him. Yeah, and we're still going to have to answer all those questions.
Thank you.